greetings. It's Vanessa-Mary. I'm coming back with a new topic. So I just want to do a quick introduction to set the scene. So yes, I will be talking about the event that I am hosting in May, but I'm taking a slightly different angle with my conversation today. If you don't know who I am, my name is Vanessa-Mary, and I am a holistic well-being coach based in Nottingham. So yeah, the conversation that we're having today is really about our lives as family business owners. So I'm going to start talking to mums and dads in business so we can talk about the blend between working, raising our family, thinking about the future, and also how we do all of that by managing our own emotional well-being, our mental well-being, and hopefully have some fun along the way. So, I'm going to introduce you to my coach. I've been working with him for a while, and I kind of hesitated then because actually the angle of this new series was inspired by one of our last conversations. So I'm going to bring him on now. Here we go. So welcome back, Rik.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. As I said, this conversation has been inspired by what you said during one of our last conversations. So even though we will be reflecting on what you took away from last year's event, so thank you very much for being part of that event and contributing. I know that your session was very well attended. I don't actually have the evaluation forms in front of me. I should have prepared them, but there's really good feedback from what you did. Obviously, we've been working together for a while now, and in my post that I wrote yesterday, I was reflecting on, the way how I've changed my communication style on social media, which obviously has an impact in other areas of my life as well. So thank you for that. But like I said, you've inspired the conversation that I'm going to start here. So thank you.
No, thank you very much. Look, you're a natural conversationalist. You know what I mean? So I think it was just a natural progression for you just to open up, have an opportunity to sort of expand your network, invite other business owners on here, and just find out more about them, what they do, and how they tick.
Yeah, that's very good. So let's start with you then. So for those who don't know who you are, just give us an introduction. Tell us a bit about who you are, what you do.
My name's Rik. I'm a marketing strategist, if you like. And what are they? You know what I mean? For me, I've been in this industry for 30 years, a long time, and since before the internet was a thing. So I feel like I've got a good grasp of what it is that makes an audience tick. And what I do is I help people like you, Vanessa, find their voice, communicate in message so that we can attract opportunity. And as well, I am a father of 4 beautiful kids, 2 boys, 2 girls, and they certainly keep me on my toes on a regular basis. I can't stop working because I absolutely love it. But at the same time, I do find enough time and space to spend as much time as I can with them as possible.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, I feel the same, Rik. My offspring are older than you. Well, I have little Zenta, but as you know, I've got adult children. And having a relationship with adults. So my daughter has her own family. So I'm a grandmother. I know I don't look like it, but it's true. But finding that space, not just for grandchildren, but also my mum. I surprised her at the weekend and just sort of spent some time with her randomly on Saturday. And she was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Don't worry, Mum." So I do appreciate where you're coming from. We are driven with our goals and, building success through our business. But every time I've spoken to you, I do get a massive understanding and appreciation of how important your family are to you. So that's really good. So I don't know where to start. I mean, what inspired me about the conversation that we had last time is you said, speak to ordinary mums and dads in business and find out a bit more what they were doing. But I noticed that in our conversation, we were talking a lot about frameworks. So did you just want to give the audience an overview of the framework that you use in your Leeds Lab community, which I'm a part of, which, I can see even the fact that where we are in our teachings and, how you're coaching us. I was thinking the other day, I was like, oh, now I know where we are in his framework. So do you want to tell everybody about that, please?
Yeah. Look, the importance of frameworks is probably where I want to start with that, because if you are a busy business owner that happen to have to balance, juggle, now I'd say blend. People always talk about a work-life balance. I think you've got to have when you run your own business, you've got to have a work-life blend. It has to sort of blend in together. Otherwise, you're not really going to get things done. So to be able to get things done and to be able to understand what the next steps are, I know through 30 years of experience, you got to work to a framework, an A, B, C, D, follow me kind of framework that allows you to almost progress in your own subconscious, so that you can, because you're spinning so many plates, and kids, bless them, they don't understand boundaries. Life doesn't understand boundaries. Kids, bless them, they don't care that you're running your own business, and nor does life. So to have a framework in your life and process to success, process to creating leads, things like that, is vitally important, because then you can drop what you're doing, address life, come back to where you left off in the framework, and crack on. And the fundamental 5 is understand what you want, what are your goals. Fundamental number 2 is have your signature piece, that being the fundamental 5 for me and seeds for you. Fundamental number 3 is social proof. 4, social listening, so vital for identifying your message. And 5 is measure everything, so that you can reverse engineer exactly what you've done. Because I'm a big believer in what Steve Jobs says. You can't join the dots looking forward, you can only join them looking backwards. So if you know what you've done, you can actually plan your way forward, because you've got some data and some information.
That's great. So you left us on data, and obviously the task that you set for our group last week was all about tracking our numbers. And I started to do that. I think it was such a good task, and the way how you asked us to set it out very simply. So for me, it was back to pen and paper, which was fantastic, because it meant that I've got the document in front of me, and every time I finish something, I can just record quickly. You'll be pleased to know that my tracking sheets are ready for this week. So this is quite funny. Mine are colourful, and Rik was like, "Oh, I like the colours that you've used." I was like, "It's just."
And the handwriting is absolutely, it's a work of art.
Do you know, I've always been told that I have beautiful handwriting. I like to use purple. That's one of my favorite colors. So yeah, I like to bring color into my life. But, it was a simple methodology, but it was very effective. So at the end of the week, I was like, wow, look how many conversations I've actually had. And also how those conversations have led to appointments. Yes, they've led to sales as well. As you know, I'm doing the event, so I'm selling exhibition stalls, people are booking tickets. So that was good to see as well. But then there's other projects that I'm working on, which are a little bit more in the future in terms of getting the sale, but at least I can track where I am with those conversations. So thank you very much for that.
Look, I just
That
want
was
to add to
brilliant.
that is that, like, look how motivating it is. You know, when you look back and you actually celebrate your wins at the end of the week, how motivating and how like a different mindset you go into the following week in, rather than feeling exhausted and maybe not feeling like you've done enough because the results don't feel like they're there. And as we always say, and I know that people, it's very, very typical, numbers don't lie. You know, when you look at the sheer volume of work that you're doing, especially you at this present moment in time, and the results that you're getting, celebrate those wins, you know, and learn from them.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Because I felt that before I knew I was doing things, and I do have an Excel sheet. So, yes, I did transfer things that I'd written down into my Excel sheet, but the Excel sheet wasn't practical enough, really, on
Mm.
that day to day capturing all of the activity. And when you are a micro business owner like myself, then I'm wearing so many different hats that, one conversation could be about an appointment, and then in the next conversation I'm literally doing the invoice to capture the
Yeah.
sale that I'd secured the day before. So it can be quite tricky when you're managing different things. But I'm going to move over to talk about the framework.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I do have a signature piece around the event.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that don't know this, I said this in my last conversation with Rik, that this event isn't just about me inviting people to an event. I want people to be coming into my community. There's so many fantastic leaders. There's people also that are just starting out in business as well, which I really love. So we have a couple of women coming back from last year, Rik, who they were in the room feeling inspired. And one of
Amazing.
them went into business. She was so excited. She went back, set up her hairdressing business around her little baby. So I'm hoping to be able to speak with her as a case study, get that
Beautiful.
recorded. I even had one of my clients. We're not working together at the moment, but we're still in contact with each other. She's coming back, and she said to me yesterday on the text, "Oh, Vanessa, yes, I'm setting up a soap. It's like soap and candles business."
Yeah.
So she's
Beautiful.
working. She's working at the moment for someone else in the charity sector,
Yeah.
but she's so determined that she wants to get her business going, and being around men and women like ourselves that are actually doing it is keeping her going. So she booked her ticket ages ago. She's going to be
Amazing.
back in the room, and she's coming with her idea. So yeah, so for me, seeds actually stands for a supportive network,
Mm-hmm.
emotional well-being, enterprise development, discussion and accountability, and succession planning.
Right.
So thank you. Well, you actually you came up with
No, we don't. No.
well, anyway, no, we sorted that out together. But no,
Brainstorm.
um, no, but that's actually the beauty of working with a coach as well. That when you've got an idea, maybe sometimes you're thinking, does this work? Because actually, on some of those, what you came up with, I was like, oh no, I don't really like that, and I changed it. But you did come up with the framework. I'll give you
Look,
that.
the idea is to extract those thoughts. You know, you,
Mm,
look. This is the thing is with what I think is with micro business owners, and why maybe so many of them fail. They know what they want to say. They know what they want to do, and they're very, very good at it. And what upsets me to see is that there's so many sort of broken dreams because they end up going around in circles and giving in because they not quite find that like secret source of a means of a way to express themselves, and that's all they need, you know. And they just need to be let loose and do what they're good at, and that's where, you know, relationships like ours really, really work because,
mm,
you know, my brain works differently to yours, and that's why I do
mm.
what I do, and
Yeah,
you do
no,
what you do.
yeah, it's brilliant. So I'm going to ask you just to think about your enterprise, and even though you told us about Leeds Labs and what you do with social media, do you just want to give an overview with your other hat, which is as a coach and a mentor for men? Do you want to
Mhm.
tell the audience about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. So I've created a journal. Um, that is a monthly subscription model, and the business is called Lion State. I want men to be strong, powerful characters and human beings. I want men to be strong husbands, fathers, brothers, uncles. So much so that they don't necessarily walk around trampling on anyone else's dreams, but what they do is they lift other people up and put them on their shoulders and make space for them so that they can, lead by example. I think that's precisely what I mean, what I'm after. LION is an acronym, LION, which stands for Leadership, Integrity, Optimism, and Nurture. So that's what I think a good, strong man can do. The journal is typical in its nature, in that you express your thoughts and your feelings and things like that. But it's a monthly subscription because there's a different theme to it each and every single month. I have a read list of 12 mindset books. I break down each mindset book into a daily takeaway so that people are learning and digesting all the time. And the feedback that I've had has been somewhat emotional as well, to be honest with you, at times. Like, whereas February particularly was my most nervous of all, because we're talking about emotions and communication. And to be fair, the lads thought it was brilliant, because now they've discovered, because of the book that we concentrated on, new ways of communicating with their spouse, their children, their colleagues at work, and they've got much better and stronger relationships. So, success all around. It's something that I'm really, really proud of.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So again, you gave us your acronym, but really that was part of your framework, yeah?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to the SEED framework. So I can't speak, supportive network. If you wanted to give us a couple of examples of, let's talk about the men's community, because I really like the sound of what you're doing there. Can you give us some examples of how you're supporting the men in your Lion State community, please?
Yeah, good question. So we have a weekly meetup as well. So I have a deep dive. So for me, I understand how I think men work. And we have a weekly meeting where we have a masterclass. I break the book down into 4 quarters as well. So we go deep in and have a masterclass every single week, every Thursday afternoon, where we talk about progress, solutions, education rather than problems, so that I inspire people to look at the O, which is optimism, so that the learning from each of these books, I can ask questions, I can engage with people as well. Every quarter we have a reset. We have a quarterly reset where we'll get together, we'll have a cold swim or a wild swim, a sauna, and a bit of a talk afterwards as well, so that we're meeting in the physical as well. So that's kind of from a supportive network. We've got an open WhatsApp group as well, where people can ask questions, and also they can meet up outside or externally of the network too.
Wow, amazing. Gosh, the reset is fantastic. I know that you showcased the launch of that when you did it last year, and I know you got a lot of people speaking, again, going back to social media and how you're connecting with people on social media by showing people what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that we're seeing popping up on our social media feed. So, well done for that.
Thank you.
So the first E is emotional well-being. So this is really about the fact that I'm an emotional well-being coach. So yes, I do coach on other aspects, so health, nutrition, physical exercise, but emotional well-being is really what I love to support clients with.
Mm-hmm.
So you've kind of touched on how you're doing this yourself with your men's community. Is there anything that you wanted to add in terms of the aspect of emotional well-being, or even if you wanted to talk about your own emotional well-being and how you're looking after yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the journal itself does ask you how you feel. Rate yourself from 0 to 10 in terms of how you feel. I wanted to make it really simple. If you feel crap today, it's a 2 or a 3, and then afterwards, and it's based on the emotions wheel. So we've got like a bit of a checklist that's based on the psychological emotions wheel. So you just kind of check off. You try to pinpoint your exact emotions rather than saying I feel like rubbish today. You can say, you feel sad. You feel sad because you're hurt. Why are you hurt? And so on and so forth. So you can actually process those feelings, but like in private. I don't need to go and sit on the phone and tell somebody about it and maybe wallow it. I could just do that in private, which is a part of the nurture aspect of the moral compass, which is the Lion framework. And as well, part of the nurture is a consideration to get out in nature. So whenever I'm frustrated or I'm really, really struggling, or I'm, upset, frustrated, I go for a walk. I just stop what I'm doing rather than make my emotional well-being worse, because this is what I think people do. They don't give themselves enough time. I don't want to sound woo-woo or anything like that, but I'm thinking I can do one of two things here. I can take 3 times as long to do this task because I'm not in the right frame of mind, or I can take a 15-minute walk and just cool off a bit and come back to it and absolutely smash the day. And that's kind of like real simple stuff. It doesn't have to be expensive nor complicated. You can just have a positive word with yourself.
I love that because our emotions are energy in motion anyway. So when we're moving, it's going to change your state. So for myself, I've been to the gym much earlier much earlier than normal today, just because I wanted to be in a really good, state being on
Mm-hmm.
this call. It's not just speaking to you. I know that this is a live stream, it's recorded. So I want to be showing up. So there's things that we can do to change our state, and movement is one of those things. So thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about enterprise development.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just set the scene here. You've got your coaching business with people like myself. We're talking about social media, strategy, measuring, advertising, all of this stuff. Then you've got your men's group.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got your family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is enterprise development. How are you managing all of this stuff?
It's good. It's like I said before. It's you have to have a work-life blend. And I take my opportunities where I can. So, for example, if the kids are with me and I've got lots of work to do, I am 100% present. But there comes a time in the evening where they all go off into their own bedrooms and they do their own thing. And I think that's okay then for me to get the laptop out and have my time. I do my own thing, and the kids, they do understand that. I'm not ashamed of having to negotiate. If we're all going on a family holiday, to negotiate a 4-hour work window where, because I'm independent and I work for myself, where I've got to keep the wheels turning. So it might be 2 hours mid-morning whilst everybody's sunning themselves and eating pizza. It might be another 2 hours super early evening as everyone's really tired and coming around ready for the party that they got to go to or whatever it might be. So I'm not ashamed of that. So and I love what I do. So that's how I manage it all, really. I work to a default diary. So one day might be Lead Labs, another day might be Lion State. There's certain roles and responsibilities to run each and every single thing. And I'm not afraid of whilst the kids aren't good at holding my boundaries, I'm very good at communicating them these days, so that at least they understand. I kind of messaged one of them the other day because they were having problems themselves. I said sometimes it's better to disappoint somebody than it is to let them down. Sorry, I can't do this, rather than promise them the earth and then end up letting them down, because the two feelings leave a very different taste in people's mouths, really. One's kind of like long lasting, and the other one's kind of like a hard impact that they'll get over. And that's kind of been my advice to them.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love the fact that you said default diary. Like, again, I was looking through files last week of things that you've sent us. So this is me talking in the Lead Labs community,
Mm-hmm.
and you have set us these sort of like these sheets where we're supposed to put in like what we're doing. And I thought, oh, I haven't filled that in. haven't filled that in this. But to be fair, I know that you're, excuse me, aware that I'm working on the event, so my main focus is there. But when I did fill it in,
Mm-hmm.
it was really good just to take the time out and rather than go into the week and go, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? You've already spent some time thinking about what am I going to be doing? What message do I want to put out on my social media? What message do I want to share in an email? So I think the way how you have structured your templates for your clients is really helpful. And
Thank you.
obviously, that might be based off your own life with your
It
default
is.
diaries.
It totally is. I think the thing is as well, like I think what I ask people to do is visualize their day. You know, from call it what you will. It could be a spiritual thing that we're doing. It could be just a motivating thing that we're doing. But I think if you start the day visualizing how it wants it to go, there's a stronger chance of it actually going your way. And then in the end of that, at the end of those each and every single days, there's a reflection part as well. So if it didn't quite go your way, you ask yourself why. What was in the way? Because seeing is change. If we can see where we go wrong and we can do these things and we reflect on the end of the day, tomorrow we ain't making that same mistake. You know,
Mm.
and that's in essence what it's all about. That's why that form was created.
No, it's brilliant. Thank you. I will start using mine again. I was just like, oh my gosh, I haven't filled it in. But I think when I'm doing something like this, I am working to a project management, like an event management list. So
Massive.
all right. So now we're going to talk about discussion and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I want to take this to the lead labs kind of
Okay.
work that you're doing.
Yeah.
So in terms of discussion, you do get us to think about things. Obviously, we didn't have our regular Monday lunch and learn yesterday, with it being the bank holiday.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you maybe wanted to share what's coming up next week, or if you wanted to give an example of things that you have encouraged us to think about during
Yeah,
that session.
I think I'd probably go back to last week where I would ask questions because everybody's business is different, and it's very important for an accountability partner, a coach, and everybody works differently. So it's important that we actually there is no one size fits all. So you must use this system because I use it and it works. That's not what I'm talking about. The framework is a guide for you to fill in between. So what we spoke about last week was understanding and knowing your numbers. So it would be up to me to ask you, so what do you think is going to be very, very important that you need to be checking, and give me a reason why. Then I can think about other ways of how you might track that, or why you would track that, what else you could track that we can make sure that we're not causing holes in our bucket and losing opportunities. And I think that's where like a good accountability partner comes in. They don't necessarily tell you what to do. I read a really good book saying questions are the answers. So I don't pretend or even try to know all the answers that you have. I don't know all the answers that I need to tell you, but I certainly can ask you a lot of questions so that eventually you can come up with your own answers, and then you know exactly what you need to do. And that's the sort of biggest learning curve anybody could have. I'd rather be a coach educating, teaching people how to fish, rather than be somebody that somebody leans on for the rest of their life and be used as a crutch, because I don't think that's the right thing to do as a coach. I think we need to be sort of making sure that we're empowering people and holding them accountable.
That's very good. So thank you for that. Okay, so before we talk about succession planning, I just want to take you back to last year
Mm-hmm.
when you came to Nottingham and you gave a masterclass to the attendees at the event. So, in our last conversation, Rick, we were talking about obviously, I was planning the event, it hadn't happened, it was like a concept in my mind.
Yeah.
You, as my coach, you were like, what is she doing? What is she talking about? And then I was like, can you be part of it? And you said yes. And then the day arrived. Do you just want to give us some feedback on your experience of the day and what you personally got from the day for your own business, please?
Absolutely. I think as soon as I got there, I must admit, because I went on my own, and there was a couple of familiar faces there, but not like it wasn't a room that I walked into that was familiar, but it felt familiar because everybody was so nice. The community was so welcoming. Everybody wanted to speak to you. They made, I would sit down on my own with a cup of coffee, and then somebody would come and sit next to me and say, "So what do you do then?" Because I'm not like as much as some people wouldn't think. I'm like not an extrovert. I'm kind of like I'd go and sit and be quiet somewhere. So I felt so welcome. That was my first sort of like experience, and then I must admit I was getting more and more nervous towards me going to do my talk, and I went there. If I'm honest with you, in support of you, Vanessa, I really wanted to do such an amazing job for you, and like give people as much value as possible as a reflection, on and for you. But as a direct consequence, I'm not sure whether I should say this, but like I actually walked away with some business as well. You know what I mean? So I did, yeah, quite a few pieces of business, and it was a really good experience. So it was beautiful, lovely people, extremely welcoming. I was nervous, but yet the whole kind of atmosphere calmed me. And then once I got into my flow and I started talking, and people started listening, and like you say, it was really well attended. I think like nearly everybody in the room was stayed in the room for the conversation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which added to the nerves, to be honest with you. But it was extremely well received, and as I say, I walked away with some really, really good business, and it was recurring revenue as well. It wasn't just like a one hit; it was like recurring revenue, and I think that's obviously as a direct consequence of you, believing in me and putting me in the room. Thank you very much.
Oh no, it's brilliant. I mean, 'cause like I said, I haven't got the evaluation forms in front of me, but my plan, because evaluation was something that I was doing for a long time, and I know don't wait until people have left and then you try and send them a form. That's not going to work. You've got to get them in the moment when they're, feeling the energy of that event. So it was old-fashioned pen and paper. Please give me your feedback. And the thoughts and the praise that was coming through, obviously not just for yourself but the other masterclass leaders, was absolutely incredible. So I just want to say thank you for coming over and sharing your wisdom and knowledge, and I am delighted that you did get something out of it for your own business.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to talk about succession planning then, because you've got your Lead Labs community and the Lion State community. You can be honest and kind of share where do you, what's pulling on your heartstring at the moment, because this new podcast is called Leading from Heart, by the way. So what's pulling on your heartstring in terms of what you're doing?
In terms of what I'm doing is I just want to help people. Full stop. Like I think you'll notice like a similarity between both businesses. My mission for Lead Labs is still very much the same: is to entertain, educate, and inspire 6% of the 6 million independent businesses in this country. And I'm on that mission, and I want to see it through. And I can give them what's in my brain, and they can run with it, and hopefully they can be really successful too. And the same is for Lion State. I just want to help. Like the suicide rate is scary, and something's not working, and I think we need to address it, and we need to look at it, because I've been there. 2 years ago I was in that space where there was a daft attempt, and maybe and a lot of ideation. And so I've done some more research into for us, 6,500 men last year, I think it was, committed suicide. But if you think about it, you've got 2.1 million considering it.
Oh God!
So it's a state of affairs to be in. So like I think maybe if we can capture it before it happens, and
Mm.
inspire people to have purpose and pride and all that kind of other stuff in themselves, and have optimism, by nurturing themselves, lead by example and not try to dictate and guide anyone else. I think we can make I want to make a difference.
Well, you will make a difference. I mean, excuse me. Um, I can only speak for myself in terms of how I know my life has changed since I have connected with you. I see things and like the way how you'll say, "Oh, maybe you should think about it that way." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think about it like that." So I get excited now about showing up on social media. I'm not saying I wasn't posting before,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a little bit random when I think about it. And I definitely wasn't posting on LinkedIn
Mm-hmm.
just because I knew that LinkedIn was a different platform. You've got to kind of come with a different type of energy. And so I was a little bit scared and intimidated of LinkedIn. Whereas now LinkedIn is definitely my favorite platform. I
So
love
you master
being,
commander of LinkedIn
yeah,
now.
I love being on LinkedIn and sharing things. But again, that was down to your guidance, actually having a strategy, having a plan, and putting, that into action to the
Amazing.
best of my
Thank
ability.
you for
So
saying
thank
so.
you so much. So do you know what, Rick? You've got such a bright future. You are working with obviously women and men, and you are changing lives. So thank you so much for everything that you're doing, being part of my event last year. Hopefully you are going to be with us this year as an attendee, and you can sit back, relax,
I could just watch everybody else. Yeah, it'd be great.
yeah, learn from others. And as you know, we've got people traveling from up and down the country this year. So we've got some fantastic speakers, and I am so excited. It's literally weeks away now.
Yeah, not fun.
So what I wanted to say to anybody, I've got to do a plug, Greg, about
Do
the
it.
event. Every ticket holder will be invited to be part of this series. I thought about that in
I
advance.
like that.
So, again, this isn't just about you coming to an event and going, "Oh, that was nice." We want you to be part of this community. Rick is part of the community. You're going to meet other people that are part. Some of my contributors last year, they've come back. Exhibitors have come back because they get a sense of what I am aiming to build here.
Mm.
So I want you to be part of that as well. So thank you so much, Rick, for sharing your story and telling us a bit more about your business and how you're supporting other men and women in their business. Is there anything that you wanted to leave us with today before we say goodbye?
Only that I want to thank you, Vanessa, so very much for your loyalty, for putting me up there in front of as many people as you did, supporting my business to sort of grow and flourish, and putting me on that pedestal. So I'm very, very grateful to that. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And you've used the word flourish, which is actually my signature piece.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I've got the framework seeds, which is for the event, my signature piece is flourish. So thank you. We've ended on a brilliant note there. So yeah, that's it from us. So this was, like I said, a new angle that I'm taking my conversations in. If you already have a ticket to the event, then I will be reaching out. Let's get you answering the questions that Rick has gone through with us today. I'd love to find out more about you and also put the spotlight on you and what you're doing. So thanks again, Rick, for being
Thank
here
you, Vanessa.
today. And we'll say goodbye here. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.